Assalamu alaikum. Myself Jannatul Firdaus Samia, a student of MBA final year, Department of Management, Goft College of Commerce. Today my presentation is about microfinance companies fighting poverty in Bangladesh. Before show the presentation, I would like to express my great respect to Almighty for providing me the strength and energy to prepare this presentation. I would also like to express my sincere gratitude to my Honorable Teacher Nitu Chaudhuri, Assistant Professor, Department of Management, Goft College of Commerce, Chattogram. Introduction. Microfinance refers to the financial services provided to low-income individuals or groups who are typically excluded from traditional banking. Most microfinance institutions focus on offering credit in the form of small working capital loans, sometimes called microloans or microcredit. In Bangladesh, there are mainly 4 types of institutions involved in microfinance activities. These are number 1, Grameen Bank, number 2, around 1500 non-governmental organizations like BRAC, Proshika, Asha, Bureau, etc. Number 3, commercial and specialized banks like Bangladesh Krishi Bank, Rajshahi Krishi Unnayan Bank, and number 4, government-sponsored microfinance project or programs like BRDB, Swannirbhar Bangladesh, RD12, etc. All the programs are targeted at the functionally landless rural poor. Impact of microfinance services on borrowers and on the economy. The impact of microfinance at macro level is not still clear. There are a few studies on this impact assessment of microfinance. Findings of those studies are as follows. Number 1, the dependency of poor people on the moneylender or richer people has been reduced substantially in this society, and people are getting access to institutional sources for credit. Number 2, the labor force participation rate for more employment opportunity of the participants was found higher than the non-participants. Before 90s, the wage rate of women labor force did not get importance because of social backwardness. Women labor was sold at a very low non-bargaining rate. This was equally true in case of male labor force before the 80s. But with the time passing, situations have changed noticeably. Number 3, as the main target group of microfinance is women, they have gained a special financial power over men. Though women are dominated by men culturally, their access to get credit and do their own business has increased their confidence on their own ability. This is especially true for the rural poor women of the country. Now, more and more rural women move outside their home after joining microfinance program. They now go to office, banks, market and other places without a male company. This is a positive indicator of women empowerment. Number 4, there is a controversy about the impact of microfinance on poverty alleviation. The poverty rate of the country did not decrease significantly in last few years. The main focus of microfinance is to alleviate poverty, but it could not reach the poorest of the poor till now. Now, microfinance NGOs are seriously thinking about this issue and have started some programs to solve this problem. But it is challenging work to do because this group of the population first needs money for consumption. Without solving these problems, they are not able to invest credit for cash flow, which they need to repay the loan in time. Therefore, it has been seen that there are a big success of microfinance at micro level that do not show any significant impact at macro level. In the recent literature, it is often mentioned as the problem of macro-micro mismatch. There are also some challenges for microfinance NGOs and for the government. The current challenge of microfinance NGOs is whether they could run the program without subsidy because the flow of donor fund is declining over the years. Since the main objective of microfinance is to alleviate poverty, the question is whether they would be able to charge real cost of service on the recipients. If it is charges full cost, what would happen to the other objective of outreaching the poorest of the poor? On the other hand, if full cost is not charged, would they be financially sustainable in the long run? And the challenges for the government is to bring this huge unorganized industry under a uniform umbrella where this industry will get proper direction and support to run the business. Suggested reforms to face the future challenges. Since microfinance NGOs have to face the realities of declining subsidized fund, they should take effort to reduce administrative and transaction costs, which seems very high. Most of them do not practice proper bookkeeping or accounting policies. Formal commercial banks can overcome this problem by linking them with NGOs, microfinance companies who already have a ready setup of operation and experience. Therefore, microfinance sector will have to develop a concrete long-run vision of a flexible, self-sustainable, well-regulated and pro-people microfinance industry capable of facing all these challenges. That means the industry will design its product according to the market need, diversify its loan portfolio, not just depending only on the agricultural sector for investment, identify the exact cost involved and find out reasonable service charge for each product offered, apply internationally accepted accounting policy, formulate transparent policy for the stakeholders. Conclusion. It is expected that with the fulfillment of the above vision, the service sector would contribute to our economy by alleviating poverty in real sense. It would help generate permanent employment, remove over-dependency on agriculture. Poor people would be able to take care of their health and education by getting the benefit from the service. They would also help microfinance institutions to be sustainable by paying their due on time. That's all for the moment. Thank you so much for watching me.